Have you ever woken up exhausted before even getting out of bed? Hit snooze, opened Instagram, and within 15 minutes your brain has already taken in more dopamine than a Stone Age hunter in an entire week. Your reward system has become a hostage to likes, notifications, and 7-second videos. And the worst part, you've trained your brain to treat work and study as boredom to be avoided. Every scroll, every click, every just one more video is reshaping your mind, sabotaging your ability to focus and turning you into a passive content consumer. But beware, if you keep watching this video in the background while checking WhatsApp, your mind will keep being sold to the algorithm. Now there are only two choices. Either you close all distractions and watch until the end, or you remain just another statistic swallowed by cheap dopamine. You chose to stay, and that alone is already a first victory. But before we begin, I need to ask you a question. How many times have you looked in the mirror and sworn that this time would be different, only to end the day in the same cycle of exhaustion and self-sabotage? This isn't a lack of discipline or willpower. It's that, while you were fighting laziness, something inside your brain was working against you. Something older than the internet, more powerful than your willpower. That, without you noticing, pushes you toward procrastination every time. I'm going to show you how this mechanism operates and how to disable it before your next "I promise" turns to dust. There are days when we know exactly what we need to do, but we just can't get going. It's like something is draining our energy, keeping us from doing anything. We all have days like this, and you might even think you're lazy or undisciplined, but the root of this problem has nothing to do with willpower. It lies in dopamine. A lot of people think dopamine is simply the pleasure hormone, but that's not true. More than just making us feel good, it's what drives us to take action. When your dopamine is balanced, you feel the urge to move, to achieve, to face challenges. But when it's out of balance, even the simplest tasks seem impossible. Scientists have already proven this in experiments. Rats that had their dopamine drastically reduced didn't lose the ability to feel pleasure when eating, but they simply stopped making the effort to get food, even when it was within reach. They weren't tired, they weren't weak, they just saw no reason to act. Now, think about what happens to you. How many times have you put something important aside, not because you didn't care, but because you felt blocked? The world has hijacked our dopamine system. Social media, videos, instant messages, all of it bombards us with small hits of instant pleasure. Every like, every notification, every short video is like a little dopamine spike in your brain. It seems harmless, but over time, it creates a serious problem. Our brain was programmed to seek rewards, but when those rewards become too easy, it stops investing energy in more complex tasks. Studying, working, reading a book, even having long conversations starts to feel boring and tiring. Dopamine is already being constantly stimulated, so why spend effort on something that takes longer to bring a reward? This is the real reason why many people feel stuck in cycles of procrastination and lack of motivation. It's not lack of discipline, it's not laziness, it's a brain overloaded with quick and shallow stimuli. The good news, this can be reversed. Your brain is highly adaptable. You can regain your natural motivation and your ability to take action, as long as you understand how to regulate this system. But for that, we first need to understand how balance works. Imagine a balance scale. On one side, pleasure, on the other, pain. The human brain operates exactly this way. Every time you experience something pleasurable, your mind automatically tries to compensate by tilting to the other side of the scale. This mechanism is essential for our survival, but when it becomes unbalanced, it's the reason you feel constantly unmotivated and stuck in cycles of procrastination. Neuroscientist Anna Lembeck explains that the brain seeks balance. When you receive a highly pleasurable stimulus, like eating junk food or playing a video game, your brain releases a wave of dopamine. But as soon as that pleasure fades, the pendulum swings to the other side, generating a sense of drop, boredom, or even anxiety. The more intense the stimulus, the greater the compensatory effect. This explains why, after spending hours on social media, you feel a strange kind of fatigue, as if nothing else is interesting. Your brain was flooded with dopamine, and is now trying to restore balance by temporarily lowering your motivation and pleasure in other activities. The problem is that when you feel this drop, the natural tendency is to seek more stimuli to recover that feeling of pleasure. You pick up your phone again, watch another video, eat another piece of candy. But with each repetition of this cycle, your balance becomes more unstable. The brain starts requiring increasingly larger doses of stimulation to feel pleasure, while normal periods of boredom or effort become unbearable. This means that tasks, like reading a book, studying, developing a project, or even maintaining a distraction-free conversation, start to feel more difficult and uninteresting. They can't compete with the whirlwind of dopamine generated by the artificial stimuli of the modern world. The result, you feel drained, unmotivated, and worse. You start to believe that the problem is you, that you simply don't have enough discipline, that you're not as productive as others. But in reality, your brain has simply been conditioned to seek instant gratification and avoid anything that demands sustained effort. The solution to this isn't to completely cut out immediate pleasures, but to learn how to regulate them. Small changes in how you deal with boredom and pleasure can help restore your natural motivation. Pause for a moment and think. Who's in control of what enters your mind every day? You or the algorithm? The way you feel, think, and act is directly linked to what you consume. If your attention is constantly being pulled toward fast, addictive, and shallow content, your capacity for focus and reflection diminishes. The problem is that most people don't realize this is happening. They believe they're just entertaining themselves or passing time, without understanding that their brain is being programmed by what they repeatedly absorb. Social media was designed to capture your attention for as long as possible. The infinite feed, the notifications, all of it works like a mental casino, triggering the dopamine system and making every second away from the screen feel less interesting. Real life starts to seem dull. Reading a book becomes tiring. Working on a project requires effort you feel you don't have. Boredom becomes unbearable, and the only apparent solution is to return to quick and easy stimuli. The truth is, your brain adapts to what you feed it. If you feed it only short, emotional, and impulsive content, it will become an impatient and scattered brain. But if you start consciously choosing what you consume, you can reverse this process and regain your ability to focus, be creative, and think deeply. So, how do you do that? The first step is to take control over what enters your mind. Instead of letting the algorithm decide for you, make active choices. Does the content you're watching add something to your life? Does it bring you closer to the person you want to be? If the answer is no, it's time to change. Start by replacing some of your passive consumption time with content that actually teaches you something. Educational videos, books, podcasts, courses. There are countless ways to feed your mind in a healthy way. This doesn't mean you need to completely eliminate entertainment, but rather balance it. Another point is to create moments of mental silence. The excess of digital stimuli makes your mind constantly react to something, leaving no room to reflect or create. Try taking small, screen-free breaks throughout the day. Give yourself the chance to get a little bored. Boredom isn't a problem. It's the space where creative ideas are born. If you start paying attention to what you consume, you'll notice your mind becoming clearer, your focus improving, and your motivation naturally returning. And there's something that will help you a lot on this path. Have you noticed how your mental energy shifts when you spend an entire day without moving? The body and mind are deeply connected, and the way you care for your physical health directly influences your motivation, mental clarity, and ability to take action. Science has already proven that physical activity is not just about aesthetics or cardiovascular health. Exercising regularly regulates neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, creating the ideal chemical environment for your brain to function well. If you constantly feel tired, low on energy, and unmotivated, it's because your body is asking for movement. Studies show that something as simple as walking can have a huge impact on the brain. Research indicates that people who walk around 10,000 steps a day show fewer symptoms of anxiety and depression, along with better concentration and decision-making. Why? Movement regulates the body's internal systems, helping to release accumulated stress and restore dopamine balance. When you remain still for long periods, your mind also enters a state of inertia. The less you move, the harder it is to break free from the feeling of apathy. This creates a dangerous cycle. You feel low on energy, so you don't exercise. And because you don't exercise, you continue feeling low on energy. The key to changing this lies in small but consistent actions. You don't need to spend hours at the gym or follow an intense workout plan to feel the benefits. Daily habits are enough to start changing your internal chemistry. Try starting your day with a 10 to 15-minute walk, preferably outdoors. Besides the physical benefits, natural morning light helps regulate your circadian rhythm, improving your sleep and energy throughout the day. If walking isn't an option, try any other form of movement you enjoy: dancing, stretching, yoga, climbing stairs, playing sports. The important thing is to create a routine where your body stays active, as this will directly impact your mental clarity and motivation. Another factor is breathing. In moments of stress or apathy, breathing becomes short and shallow, sending signals to the brain that something is wrong. Practicing simple deep breathing techniques activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing anxiety and increasing focus. When you incorporate movement into your routine, you'll notice your mental energy starting to shift. How many times have you told yourself, "I'm just not good at this," or maybe, "I don't have talent in this area"? This kind of thinking seems harmless, but in reality, it's one of the biggest obstacles to growth and motivation. Psychologist Carol Dweck, author of the book Mindset, identified that there are two ways of viewing our abilities: with a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are unchangeable. If they fail at something, they assume they simply weren't born for it and give up. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset understand that any skill can be developed with effort and practice. They don't see failures as signs of incompetence, but as learning opportunities. The difference between these two mindsets can determine who progresses in life and who stays stuck. A fixed mindset isn't natural. It's learned over time, and it can be changed. One of Dweck's most powerful concepts is the use of the word yet. Instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm not good at this yet." This simple change completely shifts how your brain views challenges. When you add yet, you're telling yourself that your ability isn't fixed, it's under construction. You begin to see progress as a continuous process rather than a definitive judgment of your capacity. This means that instead of avoiding challenges, you begin to face them as opportunities for growth. Failing stops being a problem and becomes part of the journey. And here's the most interesting part. Neuroscience confirms that the brain really does change as you practice something. Every time you make an effort to learn something new, new neural connections are formed. This means your intelligence, creativity, and skills can all be expanded as long as you're willing to persist. A growth mindset doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it changes how you face them. And when you stop seeing obstacles as definitive barriers, you begin to discover that your true potential goes far beyond what you imagined. Now that you understand the impact of dopamine, the balance of pleasure and pain, the content you consume, movement, and a growth mindset, there's only one thing left: integrating all of this practically into your daily life. If you've made it this far, it means you've already taken the first step to break the dopamine cycle. You might not realize it yet, but a part of you has already started to change. Before, your mind was on autopilot, a hostage to instant stimuli that drained your motivation. Now, you can see what's happening behind the scenes of this process. And more importantly, you know you have the power to reverse it. At first, discomfort may arise. Your brain will ask for more of the same. But now you know that this request isn't a real need. It's a reflection of a system that's been trained that way. Break the pattern. Move when you feel stuck. Choose what you consume with intention. Embrace boredom as a space to regain your creativity and mental clarity. And above all, remember, you're not stagnant. You just haven't gotten there yet. If you enjoyed this content and want to better understand life's deeper questions, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who's also one of the awakened.